Hey friends, welcome to Nancy's Pantry, where we talk everything health, nutrition, and fitness, and we discuss and share the very best ingredients that are out in the Canadian market that we want to put in our body and the ones that we really want to do our best to stay away from. Let's get started with today's video. Hey friends, so in today's video we are going to talk about the number one most talked about topic, and if you've guessed it, I'm sure it'll be in the title of this video. It is back to school. Our children in a couple of weeks are going to be going back to school, whether it's in person, virtual learning, or homeschooling, or just a combination of all three of those. But every household with children, young or small and old, know that snacks need to be the number one thing that is stocked up in a home. So these are some of the more popular snacks that we have out in the market that I've noticed are geared towards children, being convenience foods, being snack packs, like being able to just pack it into a lunch. However, all of these things here are chock full of sugars, fillers, colors, artificial flavors. None of these things are very good for our children, considering that they're growing. You know, the little ones, they're growing and they're using all of their calories, all of their energy during the day to not only learn, but to play and have fun. So we really need to pick the best stuff that we can find out on the market with better ingredients that is gonna help our children not only grow, but function better in school. So some of these items here we have, for example, let's start with the, crunchy, munchy, salty things. So we have, your typical chips. You got Doritos, you got Lay's, you got the Ruffles, you've got them all. We've got things like these veggie sticks, which are being marketed as a health food, but really it's just chock full of fillers. It's got rice starch, rice flour, potato flour. It's not even a real veggie. So these are definitely something that you want to stay away from because it's not a real veggie stick. There are some other ones out on the market that are much better than this, but I don't have it here. I wasn't able to find it in my local stores, but I'm sure if anybody goes out to like Loblaws, if you go out to Longo's, they're definitely going to be in the health food aisle and you're going to see. It needs to say that it's got actual dehydrated vegetables. This is literally just potato starch and rice starch and so forth and so on. This is not a veggie stick. So your children are not really getting any veggies per se hidden in these. Your chips, they're obviously fried in lots of the crappy oils that we want to stay away from. In the previous video of our grocery haul, I mentioned a little bit about it, and in future video I'm going to have dedicated just for oils. Vegetable oils, your corn oil, your canola, safflower, sunflower, these are all things we really want to stay away from. And all of these typical chips that we find out in the market all have these vegetable oils. And what's so sad about them is that they're right at the top of the list, which means that it's a big component of these chips. So we really want to stay away from that. What other munchies do we have? We've got crackers. So these ones in particular, these Ritz ones, these are the cheese ones. So they're made into sandwiches. So they're made to make parents feel like their children are also getting some dairy. Lo and behold, do not be mistaken, there is nothing dairy in these. It's all modified milk ingredients, and again, fillers, colors. It's got a bunch of junk that your children are not gonna need, and it's not gonna help them to feel not only satiated, but to give them the energy that they need to get through the school day. Bear Paws. I remember this a lot from when my brother was small and he went to school. This one is the rainbow chip one, but again, these are just sugar. The first two ingredients, wheat flour, so it's not even whole wheat grains, but just wheat flour, and then sugar. And you've got glucose, fructose, and fancy molasses. Not to mention the sugar that's in the chocolate chips, that's in the rest of this product. You've got vegetable oils, you've got cornstarch, you've got canola oil. This stuff is just not great for your children, and it's just a box of inflammatory all in one. Your fruit leathers, or like the fruit by the foot. My daughter does like these, so I do give it to her on a very rare occasion, but these are definitely just chock full of sugar. There's 9 grams of sugar in one roll, and the very first ingredient is sugar. So this is definitely not something that you want to be giving your kids. And also there is palm oil and carrageenan, and carrageenan is so bad for our gut flora. It really just kills all of the good bacteria and just inhibits the bad ones. So we really don't want this kind of stuff in our children's bellies. We want to maintain the good gut flora for them. Snack packs. So we have the typical puddings, the jellos. These again, and actually I purchased this one on purpose because this one says that it is sugar-free or reduced sugar. But each one of these, well, it says 0 sugars, which means to me that it's going to have some of those artificial sweeteners in it. It says gluten-free, simulated flavor, of course, sweetened with sucralose right on the front. So sucralose is basically like your Splenda. It's not great stuff. And again, it's an artificial sugar. And because it's not a natural product that is naturally occurring, when you eat a ton of this, it just basically accumulates in your fat cells because your body doesn't really recognize sucralose, so it doesn't really know what to do with it. So this is definitely stuff you want to stay away from. And it's got filtered water, sugars. It does have some fruit juice from concentrate. So, you know, it's got like a little bit of like natural fruit flavors in it. It's really just apple juice. It does contain carrageenan again, so in combination with like the fruit leathers, the jello, if your children are eating these things with so much carrageenan, it's just not great for their bodies. What else do we have here? You got gums, sucralose, you got citric acid, natural and artificial flavors. Don't be fooled by the word natural flavors because how the government of Canada recognizes natural flavor is that a very minimal amount of something natural would be contained first, and then the rest is just a mixture of whatever. And natural flavors, we really don't know what that component consists of all of its components. So it can be something as simple as it takes a drop of maple syrup, something that is natural, and then the rest of it could just be a load of garbage basically, and they call it a natural flavor. So we have to be really careful with natural flavors, but I'm gonna be really honest with you. It's very difficult to find a lot of like snack items for children and even for adults. A lot of our foods contain those natural flavors. So it's best to try and find ones that contain better ingredients, and natural flavors would be at the end of the list instead of in the beginning. So although we can't run 110% away from natural flavors, we can do better with the rest of the ingredients, if that makes any sense. So the puddings and the jellos, I don't think I actually have today a different one that we would rather use, like a healthier version, but maybe just trying to make your own puddings or jellos at home. Gelatin is relatively cheap. Finding halal gelatin is a different story, but finding unflavored gelatin and then maybe sweetening it with your own natural fruits from home is probably a great way to have some jello at home and to give that to your children. What else do we have here? Let's look at, well, since we're talking about like gummies and fruit flavored things, let's talk about fruit snacks. These are some of my daughter's favorites. Again, this is a treat that I don't give very often, but fruit snacks are also filled with a bunch of sugars. In fact, the first 2 ingredients are corn syrup and sugar, and then there's modified cornstarch. And then we have a couple of fruit juices and concentrate, but the rest of it is just garbage. It's just sunflower oil, vegetable concentrates. You know, there really isn't anything in here that is that great for our children. So these types of things, if your kids are eating on a daily basis, it's really not doing them any good. And there are better ones out on the market, and we'll talk about those in the next part of the video. What else do we have here? I guess we can get into the more sweeter stuff. We have, you know, granola bars. We've got some Rice Krispie squares. I'm pretty sure this is like #1 most popular thing for kids. I remember loving Rice Krispie squares as a kid. My mom used to make them a lot at home from scratch, but these are obviously very convenient to put into your children's lunch boxes. However, again, these are just filled with a lot of sugar. The cereal is rice, and that's about it. And then it's sugar, salt, corn, and these are all non-GMO products, ingredients that are in here. None of it is organic, none of it is non-GMO. Plus you've got a bunch of soybean, palm oil, you've got corn syrup, dextrose, natural and artificial flavors. Sugar shows up at least 3 or 4 times here. So for one of these little treats, your children are getting 8 grams of sugar, which is basically, I believe, 2 teaspoons of sugar in one little square. You're probably better off making them at home. I do have an alternative as well that we're going to talk about, but I do like the idea of Nature's Path is a brand that makes puffed rice and puffed quinoa, and you can make your own at home, and so it's a lot better and it's organic, and you can obviously control the sugars that are in each one of these squares. And it'll be nut free so that your kids are able to take it to school, especially for those classrooms that have nut or seed restrictions. Granola bars. A lot of these, you know, they make it seem like it's healthy for you. And one of the top ones that I see all the time is Nature Valley. I've eaten a lot of these as my time as a student, but I mean, these are just not great for you. I mean, they have whole grain oats, not organic. As I've mentioned in a previous video, all of your oats, whether it's steel cut, you know, quick cook, or any type of rolled oats, it needs to be organic because they are so highly sprayed with Roundup and glyphosate to dry them out. It's not good for your body at all. So you really want to get organic because those are not sprayed with the Roundup. So, you know, we've got roasted peanuts, corn syrup, of course, sugar. Then the next ingredient is sugar. We've got palm kernel oil in here, rice flour, which is just a filler, whole grain wheat, glycerin. We've just got a bunch of, there's even canola oil and fructose. So not only do we have 2 sugars that show up on the top of the list, we now have a 3rd. So it just keeps going with a bunch of stuff that is not great for us. So you really want to stay away from these. There are much better granola bars on the market, and even better, just buy the nuts, raw nuts, buy some organic oats, and you can even add some chocolate chips. Again, if your classroom has a nut or seed allergy or restriction, just make it with some chocolate chips and some oats. Very simple, a little bit of maple syrup or honey, you're good to go. Make them at home if you can. We've got fruit cups. So this is pretty funny because it says no sugar added, which is this line of no sugar added always gets me because we all know that this is going to have sugar added. And when it definitely says no sugar added, you're going to see it on the list in the form of an artificial sweetener or natural flavors. So here we've got water, pineapple, peaches, pears, cherries, which contain color, of course, natural flavors. And then you've got sucralose as the very last ingredient in here, along with citric acid, which is basically a preservative to keep the fruit from oxidizing. So sucralose, it's an artificial sweetener. As we mentioned in some of these other products, it's contained in there. You really don't want that because your body doesn't recognize that as a natural sweetener. And so unfortunately, it's just gonna store it in your fat cells. And the more accumulation we have of that, the worse it is for our future. So we really want to be careful. I don't have a version of this in an actual fruit cup that I have found out on the market. I'm still looking for that. When I do find it, I will definitely share it with you guys. But right now, I mean, I would just suggest making the fruit salad yourself at home, putting it in a little container for your children. But as well, we need a little bit of convenience sometimes. So again, each one of these cups contains 7 grams of sugar, which is almost 2 teaspoons of sugar in one little cup. So we just got to do our best, right? Here at Nancy's Pantry, it's all about the stuff you eat every single day. You really want to have the best quality, and the stuff that is every once in a while, it's not that big of a deal. So the fruit cups, maybe it's one of those things that, you know, if you don't have the time to make the fruit salad yourself, you can definitely stock it up and have it for those quick convenience times when you really need it, or just as a treat. What else do we have here? Yogurt. Yogurt is one of the things that scares me the most because yogurt and cheese, there's a lot of cheese products out in the market. I don't have it here today, but I'm sure you guys know cheese strings. Cheese strings, there's a bunch of other marketed ones that are very similar in the sense that children can peel them away, peel them apart, make them into funny characters while they eat them. You have to be really careful because a lot of these dairy products are not real dairy products. They are byproducts of milk ingredients. So you have all the modified milk ingredients rather than, for example, you know, a yogurt should just say milk. It should say milk as the first ingredient, milk, cream, those sorts of things. If you see modified milk ingredients, we're in a dangerous section here. So I have this one. My daughter likes to drink these, but we do have a different one that we love to give her instead. The first ingredient is skim milk, then it's water, then you have unfiltered milk, and then you've got a bunch of sugars. You've got some fruit purees, I guess, for the flavor and for color. And that's pretty much it. And then it's got some added vitamin D. It's got some bacterial cultures, but that's all the way at the very bottom. Majority of the time, the good yogurts have the bacterial cultures right at the front, right at the beginning of the list. But these have, if I can find, 5 grams of sugar per bottle. So this is a very small little bottle. It has a lot of product in it, but it's a very small little bottle. So your children are eating about a teaspoon, if not a little bit over, of sugar in just this little product. So accumulate that. Think about that quantity in comparison with all of these other things. If you're giving your children a yogurt, that's 5. You're sending them with, you know, a Jello or a pudding, you have another 13 grams. Where are we at? Calculators, we're at 18 grams of sugar already. You know, fruit snacks, it just starts to add up, and it's really not great for anyone, especially our children. We don't want to fill them with sugar, because then they're just going to get that rush and then they're going to crash. And that's not what we want. We want sustainable energy throughout the day. These things, I remember these things as a kid. I'm sure all of you have as well. I can't even get into this because this is just, it's literally a load of garbage in a little package, and it's so expensive. I mean, you've got sunflower and or canola oil. I love it when they do that. Sunflower and or canola and or safflower. They're all garbage oils, so why are we adding them into kids' foods? We've got glucose, fructose, we've got sugar, 2 sugars in one. There's artificial flavorings in here. There's a bunch of just stuff, preservatives that are not great. And if this is the type of thing your children are eating every day, then you can very well guarantee that this is all accumulating in their body. They're bound to have health issues in the future. We've got some nuts here. I know that most classrooms have the nut and seed restrictions, but sometimes certain schools don't. It's just certain classes. So I know that sometimes parents like to send their kids with like little mixed packets. We have these at home, which we literally only use when like we go for beach day or we're going for like a long drive. Then we end up having these, but these are not necessarily healthy. Why? Because they're chock full of salt, very, very high in sodium, and the protein is not that great. You would think that eating almonds, you would get a nice dose of protein to make you full, but these only have 5 grams of protein. There's a special bread we eat here at home from Costco, and basically 2 slices, I get more protein than this little thing. So you're really just filling yourself with salt here and vegetable oil, of course. It's a combination of canola, safflower, and sunflower. The magical 3 that are so horrible for your health. And then sugars, of course, there's MSG. There's just a bunch of junk in here that you really don't want to be feeding your kids on a daily basis. Again, we're not saying that you cannot give these to your children. You're a horrible parent if you give these and you buy these to your children, because we are all very well aware here at Nancy's Pantry that there is different socioeconomical situations. And all we're trying to say is just be mindful of the things that we purchase, because our health is our biggest investment. So even though some of these things are really cheap and they're more affordable, sometimes spending a little bit more, and some of the items that we're going to show you are actually not that expensive and they go a long way. But if you are going to treat yourself, just remember that these are treats and these are not everyday things. So we're definitely going to finish all of this, guaranteed, in a very short period of time, because we love treats here. We're just like everyone else. So by all means, don't ever think that we are trying to tell you that you're a bad parent if you purchase these things. We know very well what's available and what's not available in the Canadian market, what's affordable and what isn't, and everyone's situation is different. But we just want to help give you the information that you need to make the best decision for you and your family and your children. So I think that's pretty much it for this junk. Let's get into the good stuff. I'm going to show you a bunch of different recommendations for all of these items that we have here. Let's get started on that.